All right, Bears fans, welcome back. Bear down. Let's have a little bit of fun. We're heading into the weekend. We're less than 3 weeks away from the draft. We've got so much to be excited about as Bears fans. And I realized I haven't done it in my own original, authentic mock drafts involving Caleb Williams as number one enough. It's not happened enough. And now it's officially official. It's going to be officially official. He's going to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. So let's do one of these Adam-generated mock drafts. I haven't done one of my own genuine, authentic mock drafts in a couple weeks. We're 3 weeks away. We're going to try to do at least one a week for the next couple weeks leading up to the draft. And then as you know, if you don't know, I am going live on draft night on night number one, just Thursday. That's the only night I'm going live. I'm going to do it for the entire first round. Who knows what kind of magic could happen. We might trade down from number 9. We might get a couple trade downs. Who knows? Heavens, maybe we might even trade into the first round with another pick and have 3 first-rounders. Who knows what could happen? Draft night could be crazy. So if you haven't checked out, look at my top 30 visits of players who have already had their top 30 visits. I'm doing a player profile for every single player who does a top 30 visit. If you didn't see yesterday, I was on with Swifty on his channel. He's going to be on my channel next week. We're going to start doing something on a regular basis. I think you guys will like that. A lot of people have liked when we're doing stuff together. I think we really vibe together well. So check that out. And if you didn't see, I was also on the Bears Country podcast yesterday. That was a lot of fun. 2 hours on there. It was only supposed to be on there for an hour, but we ended up just keeping going. It was a lot of fun. Good conversation. Good direction for where the Bears need to be headed. And we're fans. I get it, guys. We all need to take this at our own speed. It's been QB PTSD for all of us for a long time. A lot of us had our hearts set on Marvin Harrison Jr. in the Hall. I get that we all have to take it at our own speed. I want to be 1 over 2. Good podcast if you want to listen to some of those thoughts and where we can go in the direction of the Bears and in the future and how we can handle this, because there is reason to be optimistic. There's so much to be excited about with number 1 and number 9. So let's jump right into it. Here is building through the drafts, brick by brick, acquisitions. We've been doing it, but we still have these glaring needs. We need a quarterback. We need another wide receiver, another depth wide receiver. We need a defensive interior. We don't have a number 4 defensive interior on the team right now. We need to replace Ja'Tyre Carter. As for offensive tackle, Larry Borom needs to be replaced. Right now he's tackle 4, but he shouldn't be on the team at all. So we need a swing tackle to compete with Braxton Jones. We need a tight end 3. We don't have one right now. We need a backup center. And we need a defensive end to replace Dominique Robinson and really give us someone solidified that if if DeMarcus Walker or Montez Sweat went down, that we wouldn't struggle that bad. Because as it stands right now, if one of those 2 went down, we're in trouble. So we have some needs to fill. We have some holes. And with that, we're going to start this draft off right with the direction the team's headed, rally around it. The Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC, 1-1 overall, the future Pat Mahomes, right? Right, everyone? Future Pat Mahomes? We'll see. If we can get Joe Burrow status, if we can get even Jalen Hurts status, I'm happy because this team is going with a quarterback that would be a franchise quarterback for years to come. All right, here's where the fun starts. Let's turn these 4 picks into 7 picks all in the first 4 rounds. With this, we're going to generate 2 more. So from 4 to 6, and we get a future 4th round pick. We already have 10 picks next year, possibly 11 with Ian Cunningham. This would turn it into 12 picks. Woo, we're getting some draft capital. The Chicago Bears successfully trade down from 1-9 to 113 with the Las Vegas Raiders. We get their 1st and 2nd, their 4th this year, and an additional 4th. Reason being, this is just like 2021. Teams are going to overpay to come up for quarterback. And in this scenario, Rome Odunze's gone, Malik Neighbors is gone, Dallas Turner's gone, who I wouldn't want to pick at 9 anyways, but we'll say the Falcons pick him. That leaves us in a position where we're willing to trade down, and that means a team didn't trade up into the top 10 to take QB4. These teams at 11 with Minnesota, 12 with Denver, 13 with the Raiders, they're going to be fighting for that quarterback 4. They're going to be fighting to come up. In this scenario, the Raiders want to hop both of them. They got to pay to do it. And so that does equate to a little overpay. Now, the Bears, when they traded in 2021 to come up from 20 to 11, overpaid by 60 to 70%. So 43% overpay is not a stretch by any imagination. This is actually a very fair. It's not giving up future high draft capital. It's a 4th rounder, but we're getting the 2nd rounder this year. Then we're going to trade down one more time. We're going to say, hey, we still like the players right in this range. The reason the Jaguars make sense is because they also need a cornerback, and this is where cornerbacks are going to be coming off the board. I have to enunciate cornerback because it's hard to hear sometimes when I say quarterback and cornerback with the way I say it. I don't think I talk funny, but sometimes it is hard to hear between cornerback and quarterback for me. So, Jaguars need a cornerback. Well, in their division, the Colts also need a cornerback. Maybe the Colts are willing to jump up to 13 to trade a little bit, but in this scenario, the Jaguars say, hey, we're going to give you our first-rounder swap, we're going to give you a third, and we're going to swap a 6th for 5th next year, so a pick swap. So instead of having a 6th next year, we're going to trade up for a 5th. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does mean every little bit, and it makes it so we're getting value in this trade. We get 117, we get 396, and a pick swap, which is very valuable in the long term of these types of things. With that, we now pick at 17. We've picked up 3 extra picks in this draft. We have 7 picks, all in the first 4 rounds. And as you know, we've talked about how in the 4th round, this draft kind of drops off. So we've got some value in this draft now. And at 17 overall, well, let's look at our picks. So we got Caleb Williams, 17, 244, 375, 396, 4112, 4122. Nice value that we've picked up from going down from 9 to 17. This is really something possible. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. With that, we're going to pick up Chop Robinson, my second favorite defensive end in this class, right behind Latu. And I really think if we could trade down and pick him up, he is a pass rush beast. Look at that pass rush on his grade there, 100%. 5.69 plays between a sack, hit, or hurry, but also 7.1% missed tackle percentage. So of all the elite tight or defensive ends in this class, he has the best tackling grade out of any of them. I like the idea of Chop Robinson. He's good sized, 6'3", 254 pounds. He could learn a lot from Montez Sweat, rotate in with DeMarcus Walker, bring him into the league properly, and give us some depth that we've so much needed. Now, we're going to pick in the 2nd round because of the trade down. Yeah, we didn't get our wide receiver in the 1st round, but I really like Xavier Legette, and that's the advantage of having a deep wide receiver class this year. We can pick up in that 2nd round a wide receiver that can still be that wide receiver 3 for us and learn behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and be able to come along at the right speed and the right processing. I really like him. I said a lot about Xavier Legette on my other videos. Contested catch guy, high point guy, but also sharp route running and a yak monster. He's a lot like DJ Moore that when he gets the ball, he can act like a running back out on the field. So I like the idea of having him learn with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Be really valuable for this team long term, especially if we can't get a long-term deal worked up with Keenan Allen. Now we're going to trade up in this draft, but we're not going to give up draft capital other than future draft capital. We want those 7 picks. This is a very, very adequate trade value. We're jumping up from 75 to 66, but we're jumping back from 96 to 104, and we're going to give up a 5th rounder in the process of doing that. We're going to do that with the Cardinals, 375 to 366. The reason we're doing that is because we have a top 30 visit scheduled with Kieran Amek-Adjei, the offensive tackle from Yale. And I like the prospect of him coming in and rotating in with Braxton Jones, giving him competition in camp, and most likely being the swing tackle, the tackle 3 this year, but could possibly replace him long term. Then at 104, I love Cade Stover. You guys know that. He's not been as high on some boards. Having him as a tight end 3 would be awesome to me if we could snag him since he hasn't been in the 3rd round in most of these mocks. But like I've said before, teams don't value players where mock draft simulators value players. But with so many players rising boards, it's very possible he could end up at the beginning of that 4th round. Could end up there, and then the Bears have an opportunity to snag him. So I like the idea of picking Cade Stover up if we get those extra draft picks, having him learn behind Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Then at 112, someone that I've always liked. He was a 1st-round prospect last year, and there's not a huge reason why he's dropped so much. Didn't have the best year, but not a bad year. 0% missed tackles this year. Tackling monster. Shoring up the defensive interior we don't have a tackle for, he would be perfect. Then at 122, our last pick of this draft, Zach Zinter. You guys know I love him. I think he would be great coming back from his injury, be able to come in and rotate in with Nate Davis, with Tevin Jenkins. If anything ever happened to them, then we have depth. Yes, we picked up Ryan Bates, and I think he's a solid depth as well. But this is what we need: is we need a depth on this offensive line. We need depth pieces that can really shore this thing up, give us the ability to not be so worried if something happens. If we have a single injury right now as it stands, we're in trouble. And this would really help shore it up. We're getting an offensive tackle, offensive guard. The only thing we need in the future is a center. We could possibly pick up Connor Williams depending on how he comes back with his injury. The jury's out on that. Let's see how that goes. But you guys know how much I love Connor Williams. That's something that could come down the line. We're not going to focus on that in this video, but here's the picks that we acquired. So 1-1 Caleb Williams, 117 Chop Robinson, 244 Xavier Legette, 366 Kieran Abijabi, 4104 Cade Stover, 4112 Mason Smith, 4122 Zach Zinter, plus a 4th rounder from Las Vegas. We did give up a 5th rounder. I didn't put that on here to be able to trade up with Arizona, but we get this pick swap. Jacksonville giving up their 6th. We get the 5th. All right, so here's how the team shakes out after all those moves. Caleb Williams is quarterback 1. Tyson Bagent, Brett Rippon behind him. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Cade Stover. This team is looking stacked. We have an opportunity here. Coleman Shelton, Zach Zinter, Tevin Jenkins, Nate Davis, Ryan Bates. That is a solid interior offensive line. And right now as it stands, we need some depth there to make that work. Darnell Wright, Kieran Abijabi, Braxton Jones, Matt Pryor. I'm really liking how this team is shaking up. Now look at wide receiver room. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Xavier Legette. Yes, I think we could still go after someone. Whether it's Hunter Renfrow or in this scenario, I haven't brought Michael Thomas up yet, and he needs to be discussed. And while I agree, he needs to be filled out. He needs to be able to see if he fits the culture, if he's going to have some issues. Because I know his production's come down a little bit, and when he got released by the Saints, there was a little bit of a frustration on his part. But I think that's natural for any player to go through that when they've had such a good career. They never quite hit the ceiling, but they were such a high-value contested catch ex-receiver, great player. I think we can still harness that, especially coming in with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Xavier Legette. This wide receiver room would be stacked, and I think we could get him on a 1-year, $5-ish million deal. I think we can absolutely get that. So that is an option that I want to explore. We'll see. That's not going to happen until after the draft. And the defense is already pretty stacked. I do want to see some more changes on that. We definitely need a defensive end. That's why I went with defensive end instead of wide receiver on this draft, guys. I realize we need a wide receiver in the first round, but our defensive end room is really, really thin. Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker. Other than that, Jacob Martin, Dominic Robinson shouldn't even be on the team. So we're really thin. Khalid Kareem, I mean, that's an option for us to keep him. I think Dominic Robinson has some more they want to try to get out of him, so I think they'd keep him over Kareem, but I don't know. We're just thin at defensive end, so that's why I think we might be ending it. Chop Robinson did his top 30 visit yesterday, so you know that he was already in there. I hope they fell in love with him. I like Chop Robinson, and maybe they wouldn't trade back down to 17. Maybe they would want to keep him at 13. We saw what happened last year with Darnell Wright. A lot of people said we could trade down and still get him at 13, 16, 17. Who knows where he would have ended up, but if Ryan Poles falls in love with Chop Robinson, they're not going to trade down to 17. So this could be a moot point, or maybe they will, and they'll just have to gauge how other teams are. Then defensive tackle for Mason Smith. The green ones you can see are players that we've already added in free agency. The orange ones are from the draft. And if you go back to here, you can see the red is where I make a little guess and an anticipation. So that's where the team would stand after that. Let's look at, though, Michael Thomas. So here's Michael Thomas. Look at all his seasons from 2016 to 2023. He just got released. Look at those 1,000-yard seasons, 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,400 yards, 1,700 yards. And then the hamstring, the ankle injuries, that's what happened 2020, 2021. Then he made his comeback. Hadn't quite fully come back. As far as I know, he's healthy now. So I think there's some frustration on his part. He's always had it, though. Look at the drop rates. A career drop rate around 3 to 4%. Career contested catch rate above 60%. I love those numbers. You guys know I love those numbers. And look at those heyday years. Look at those 2019, 18, 17 seasons. PFF grades of 90, 91, 90, 90, 91, 90, 90, 90, 90. Those are DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. If we can harness half of that, man, we've got a solid wide receiver 2 and 2 wide receiver 1s. I'm not saying we expect that from him, but I think it's worth a flyer for $1 million or for a $5 million 1-year deal. Absolutely. Then if we lose him after he balls out like that and he goes and signs somewhere else, compensation pick for it. I mean, I really like the option of this. We'll see what happens in the draft, but if we only pick one wide receiver, I can see us absolutely doing something like picking up Michael Thomas or someone of that caliber. All right, let me know what you guys think. I really like this draft, to be honest with you. If this is how it ends up going, I would be very elated. I would actually be stoked for this team. That's a team that could compete day one. The defense is already pretty stacked. The offense would look really good as well. Caleb Williams, Cade Stover, Zach Zinter, Kieran Amanjabi, Xavier Legette. Add to that Michael Thomas. That's a team that could absolutely compete, not just for a division, but for a deep playoff run. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to take a little more time off this weekend, spend some daddy time, hang out with my 2 little girls. We're going to be at it all weekend having some fun, so probably won't be on here at all with you guys. If there's some breaking news, probably do a short or something like that. So we'll see you on Monday. Until next time, bear down.